What's going on, boys and girls? We're on day 2 of the coronavirus, so I'm going to start off by answering some of your questions. There were two questions specifically. One for number 11 from Roman numeral XII. I never assigned that one, so let's not worry about that for the person who asked that one. But there was another one that was asked about number 11 from factoring the difference of squares. So specifically, the question was this one. 25m squared minus n squared. So the nice thing about this is, and the way I want you to think about this is, there's no middle term. Remember, a quadratic formula is always ax squared plus bx plus c. So in essence, there's no middle term, and when this is a difference of perfect squares or difference of squares, that means our a term and our c term are both perfect square numbers. So for instance, what if this would have said 25m squared minus 9? Well, we know that 9 squared root of 9 is 3 squared root of 25 is 5, so this would have factored down into 5m plus 3 and 5m minus 3. So likewise, because this is a perfect square, we know that this breaks down into 5m plus n and 5m minus n, because we know 5m times 5m is 25m squared. Remember, m times m is m squared. And this 5m times negative n, like here, if I carry out FOIL, because some of you did ask me to go over what FOIL is, and that's part of today's lesson. Good night. Good night. Love you. Good night. So, part of today's lesson is FOIL. So you guys got to be able to do this. So FOIL, again, and we'll go over this later, is F.O.I.L. First, outer, inner, last. Okay? So again, this means this times this, which is 25m squared. This times this, which is now plus 5mn, minus, made the mistake there, positive times negative is negative 5mn, because we don't know what m and n are, so they just stay as is. This is a positive n times a positive 5m, so this is now plus 5mn. N times negative n is negative n squared. So when I combine my like terms at the end, this plus this cancels off, so I'm left with no middle term. You're going to hear me say that a lot throughout this unit. The middle term is the bx right here. All right, so that said, hopefully that clears up some confusion there. We're doing this again today, only on a different level. Keep asking questions through email or through Classroom, and I'll answer them in this format all the time so you guys can understand what's going on. We're doing kind of the same thing today that we did yesterday, only we're upping it a little bit so that we can go into the next lesson by the following day, and all this will come together by the third day. All right, so hopefully this is working out for you guys, but pay attention and let's see what we can make of this. So today we're focusing on factoring trinomials. So I'm going to do a couple examples for you that are actually in your work today, and then I'm going to go into carrying out FOIL correctly, which is how you expand these trinomials. A trinomial. Anyway, we'll see what's going on. So, for instance, my first one is going to be a kind of a hard one because you got to have a good way to problem solve around this. This is from one of your questions in tonight's homework, or tomorrow's homework, sorry. So this one's kind of hard because you got to know all your factors of 72 in order to know how to break this down into two separate parentheses so that I can factor this quadratic. Now, here's how I would problem solve it. I would just literally list all your factors of 72 off to the side, because again, what multiplies to this has to add to this when you factor it down. So I'm going to just start off basic, and eventually, guys, you'll get quick with this and it'll become easier. Once you get the hang of this, it'll just start becoming more routine. Well, I know 1 times 72 is 72. That definitely doesn't add to 17. So forget that. I'll try my next ones. I'm just going down the list. 2 times 36. Again, that's not going to work. 4 times 18. Well, we're getting closer. 4 times 18 is 72, but definitely doesn't add to 17. 6 times 12. We're getting closer. Now we're up to 18, so I'm right there. Last but not least, I know my 8 times my 9 is equal to 72, and 8 plus 9 equals 17. So therefore, this might work for you guys in the beginning while we're learning this, just to know how to break down some of these more difficult ones as we go through this. So now that I have found my two factors that actually multiply to 17 and also multiply to 72 and add to 17, just break it up into m plus 8 and m plus 9. You'll see why all this makes sense as we go to solve quadratics later on. But right now, we're just learning how to factor it to make it easy for you, because you're going to see how this plays a role in domain and range later on, and functions and other stuff we're going to be doing. This is it. It doesn't make a difference if you do m plus 9 first or m plus 8. It doesn't make a difference. These are the two factors. We're done. We've factored this completely. That's that one. Now we're going to do another one that's got a different a term instead of 1. So when this becomes something bigger than 1, it gets a little more challenging. So let's try this now. So as I do this, I got this one. I got 6x squared plus 24x minus 462. This looks kind of challenging. So all I know is I hate having these huge numbers when I'm asked to factor something like this. So the first thing is, I know that 6 divides these first two terms evenly with no issues. I don't know if 6 divides 462, so this is a case where I'd urge you guys to use a calculator to make sure that everything divides out evenly. And when you see 6 is a factor of every single one of these terms, use it. And then set it up like this. Because 6 divides all three of these terms perfectly, this now divides out or factors out into 6 on the outside. You're left with x squared plus 4x minus 77. Okay? Pay close attention to detail. Now, I'm hoping your math skills are strong enough to know, well, the first thing I'm going to check out when I see a number end like this, I know that 11 is probably a factor of it. So in this case, I know 7 times 11 is 77, or positive 77. Use your knowledge to know that obviously this is negative 77. So now, which term do you want to be negative and positive? So if you're playing this the way I hope you are, you're just going to first try this out. Minus 11. All right, and this is why you use pencil, because I expect there to be mistakes and plenty of them. So I just went and did it quickly, not even thinking, but now I'm going to double check my math. I know x times x is x squared, x times negative 11 is negative 11x. If it helps you out to write it out, be my guest, all right? Negative 11x, this times this is plus 7x, and this times this is negative 77. Now I did this wrong on purpose because I want you to see that as I went through this, yes, I got the product to be negative 77, which is what I wanted. However, my sum has to be a positive 4. And in this case, because I chose these two numbers as what I did just by doing this quickly without thinking, I ended up with a negative 4x minus 77. So this is an easy fix because clearly I just changed this to a minus, and I changed this to a plus, and now we have the perfect factors. And now I'm done. And you'll see why this is so important to do this in pencil all the time, because you're going to make mistakes like this all the time. So we're done there. I got another example for us to try out. And I'll go from here. All right, this one's kind of hard, and this is also from your work that I assigned you guys tonight or tomorrow. Let's do this one. 294a squared minus 54. This one is definitely hard to factor because these numbers are so large and I don't know what to do. But I do know one thing. something is telling me that this might be a difference of squares because I'm missing that middle term. Whenever you see, remember, all these quadratics generally have a middle term. When there's no middle term, that means you're most likely dealing with a difference of two squares. So, you know what? I don't know my factors, all my factors of 294, and I'm not going to waste my time going through 2, 4, 6, 8, all that nonsense. I'm looking at this guy. I know a couple factors right off the bat. I know 9 is a perfect factor of 54. So I'm going to use my calculator. I'm going to divide. I already know 54 divides by 9, and I get 6. Uh-oh, that's not good because nothing times itself equals 6. All right, so I'm not even going to worry about that, but I'm going to divide this by 6 instead, and I'm going to see what I get here, all right? Because I know 54 divided by 6 is 9, which is a perfect square. 294 divided by 6 is 49. So this is the trial and error method, the problem solving I want you guys to do and use these strategies. So now when I do this divided by this, I get 49. Okay? So now when I divide out 6 of both of these, I'm left with a factor of 49a squared minus 9. Now this is easy to factor and prove something true to me earlier that we're missing that middle term. Hence, I know that I can figure out some way to divide this out or factor this out to get this down to a perfect square situation. So now this breaks down into a 6, 7a minus 3, 7a plus 3. Okay? So this is the majority of the first worksheet that I put on Classroom, which is all about factoring trinomials and quadratics. And this would be the hardest type of question you would see, but I hope, and this is one of the questions that's in the homework with the actual answers attached to it. So make sure you guys are doing this, checking your answers when you're done. Any questions you have, just let me know and I'll answer them first thing tomorrow. So that's that. The last thing that a lot of you, or some of you asked me to go over was how to do FOIL. So I think all of you should do this just because it's repetition, practice, get used to it because you're going to need to know how to do this for quadratics. So give yourself these notes. This is a thing I learned when I was in high school. You're in 7th grade, so obviously you're way ahead of me. So FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. So for instance, if I got a quadratic that's in factored form, like, I don't know, x plus 8 times x minus 3. I want to know what the quadratic standard formula is, the standard form of this. This is factored form. To put it in standard form, I have to carry out FOIL. So I literally multiply the first term by the first term. X times x is x squared. I do the outermost next. These are the outermost. So if you want to draw these things every time, be my guest. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Then I do my inner. All right, right here, 8 times x is plus 8x. And last but not least, I do my last two terms. 8 times negative 3 is negative 24. Now, the last thing I have to always make sure I always do is I always combine like terms at the end, always simplify. Now, remember from before when we did stuff with exponents that these are not like terms because this is an exponent of 2, this has an exponent of 1. These are the only like terms you can combine. So, x squared, negative 3 plus 8 is positive 5x minus 24. That's that. The last one I'll show you guys for an example will be with a different number in front. But again, you always carry out the same thing, and this is something you guys all have to know how to do because you will see it on some quizzes and some tests when you get back in class with me eventually. So let's be ahead of the game. The last one is, let's just call it 3x plus 8 and x minus 5. Who knows? Who cares? Again, first 3x squared, outer negative 15x, inner plus 8x, and last negative 40. Pay attention to negative numbers here. 3x squared, Negative 15 plus 8 is negative 7x minus 40. Eventually, we will learn some strategies on how to factor a quadratic like this to make life easy for us. But right now, focus on this practice I'm giving you. I'll assign you guys a couple lessons on Khan Academy that will line up with this. I've been doing, today I assigned you guys, I think, 3 complete actual lessons to do on Khan Academy, but there was 9 submitted. The 9 that I gave you were also stuff of videos, examples on how to do some of the stuff. Feel free to watch those and do those if you want. You don't have to do them. Just make sure you do the lessons that I attach to the Khan Academy. And again, ask me any questions you want throughout the day tomorrow. I'll try to return them as quickly as possible, but if I don't, I will answer them on this format like I just did. Hope this is working out good for you guys. Hope you're staying positive, and hopefully we'll see you soon before spring break. But if not, we'll keep doing this. Thanks, guys. Bye.